Run it back nation, what is good? Sixers sickos! What is good, man? How you guys doing today? Hope you're recovering well after some 4th of July festivities. I was a responsible grown-up, and I did not go as hard on the adult beverages as I had on Sunday at the Phillies game, so I'm feeling pretty good today. Listen, the Sixers roster right now... Hold on, let me get some of this real quick. Hold up. Everybody, if you're drinking coffee watching this, cheers, take a sip with me. The Sixers roster right now is making me a little bit nervous, okay? And, you know, do I think the Paul George thing was their best option? Yes. Like, somebody hit me up and said, this is why I think the Sixers should have signed Klay Thompson instead. No, because that is not it. That doesn't give you, like, the Paul George thing was your best bet to catapult yourself into contention with the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks, and everybody else in the East. You couldn't make a lesser move here and think that you had a better chance at a championship. Essentially, you replaced Tobias Harris with Paul freaking George, who was just an all-star last season, averaged 19.5 points per game in the playoffs, 41% on catch-and-shoot threes, 45% on catch-and-shoot threes, 41% overall on threes on 8 attempts per game. Paul George's move was great, and you had to do it. You had to swing for the fences, and you're paying a lot of money for it. The back end of it is that the 76ers are now going to have a hard time filling out the rest of the roster. Daryl Morey is going to have to be a salary cap wizard. I'm talking like Howie Roseman on steroids level of salary cap wizard to give them. I wouldn't say they need a lot of depth. You know what I'm saying? Because if you really looked at it, Nick Nurse played 8 guys in the playoffs anyway. But they need definitely some pieces. And Daryl Morey's going to have to work some things out because that's where signing Paul George put you as far as salary cap space and things like that. So, look, here's the first thing I want to talk about, okay? Here is the Sixers draft pick situation after the Buddy Hield trade. The Buddy Hield trade becomes official. He's signed and was traded to the Golden State Warriors. We'll find out exactly, you know, where that trade is getting the Sixers cap-wise. There's something there with a sign-and trade that has to be a bigger part of the Sixers bringing in a player from another team who wouldn't have fit under the cap if they didn't sign and trade Buddy Hield, and the Warriors couldn't afford Buddy Hield without signing and without trading for him on a contract, etc. You know the deal. So here's the picks the Sixers have after the Buddy Hield trade. 2026 first round pick, 2026 first round pick swap, OKC, Houston, LA Clippers are the worst of those three. 2027 second round pick, 2027 second round pick via Milwaukee, 2028 first round pick unprotected, and so on and so on and so on. There's all of their available draft picks that they have right now. Of course, this 2028 unprotected draft pick is becoming more and more valuable because the LA Clippers are going to be the worst team in the history of basketball by the time 2028 rolls around. So I'm pretty excited for that because it might be a number 1 overall pick and it might be a generational talent and it might be an absolute game changer for the future of the 76ers. So hold on to this pick as long as you can. But they sign and trade Buddy Hield for a second round pick. So Daryl Morey gets the picks back that he traded for Buddy Hield essentially. So the Buddy Hield trial last year was what it was, but we didn't really lose anything in that, and we'll see where they go as far as how that sign and trade affects their cap space or who Daryl Morey is really targeting and trying to put on this team under the salary cap. Now, here is the Sixers roster as of yesterday. This is what I mean with it's making me nervous, okay? Point guards, Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain. I liked a more veteran player in that point guard role because I like Maxey as a 2 guard. I love him in the Allen Iverson-esque role of just coming around double screens, running full speed, and having a point guard a la Eric Snow, Kyle Lowry, etc., to set him up and let him go do his thing, which is absolutely undeniably get buckets. So the point guard situation right now, I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know what Jared McCain is going to bring to the team in his first year at 20 years old, other than a bunch of fucking cringe-worthy, annoying TikToks. Oubre and Eric Gordon as your shooting guards. I love Kelly Oubre for what he brings to the team. I love Kelly Oubre off the bench, his energy, his dog mentality. Yes, Oubre paints his nails also, but in more of a punk rock type of way, not wearing a dress and making sure it matches the nail color. I have to make these videos and stop talking about nail polish, man. I just can't get over it. I'm sorry. Anyway, my point was Kelly Oubre and Eric Gordon are not starting NBA shooting guards. So I'm nervous about the point guard position right now. I'm nervous about the shooting guard position right now. Small forwards, Paul George and Ricky Council. I love that. I love that. Don't do anything at that position. Please give all of the backup small forwards minutes to Ricky Council. It depends if the Sixers go 4 out, 1 in, and run Paul George at the 4 sometimes. Like, they could get creative. But point guard, shooting guard, I'm nervous about. Small forward's the only position, and small forward and center are the only positions that I feel really, really comfortable right now with how the Sixers roster looks. The power forward slot is deserted. There's no Sixers power forward. It's Paul Reed, who they're going to trade. Like, money-wise, aside from the fact that Paul Reed became completely unplayable in the playoffs, they're going to trade Paul Reed. So they don't have the Sixers don't have a power forward right now at all on the roster. And that's what makes me nervous, because who's available for them to even have there in the starting lineup? It's going to get tricky, and we'll see what happens. But here is the best NBA free agents remaining. All right, Kyle Lowry, Tyus Jones, Markelle Fultz, Spencer Dinwiddie, Dennis Smith Jr. Tyus Jones, I don't think they can probably afford at this point, again, unless there is something with that sign and trade or some salary cap wizardry. Kyle Lowry wants more than a vet minimum, but if he doesn't get offered anything and he comes back to the Sixers on a vet minimum, I wouldn't hate it. Lowry, Maxey, McCain, I don't hate that lineup. Markelle Fultz, hell no. Spencer Din, shitty, hell no. Dennis Smith Jr., just go do the NBA G League dunk contest, and shooting guard, Gary Trent Jr., Malik Beasley, Luke Kennard, Isaac Okoro, Lonnie Walker. Again, money-wise, a lot of these guys are going to be difficult for the Sixers to go after, but my picks off the top of my head right here are Gary Trent Jr. and Luke Kennard. I think I would really like Luke Kennard here as a starting shooting guard on the 76ers team. Small forward, again, I don't want the Sixers to touch. Center, I don't want them to touch. Power forward, Precious Achiuwa, Robert Covington, Dario Saric, Markieff Morris, Chuma, Okeke. And, if the Sixers are looking at minimal space and trying to find a starting level power forward who is the cheapest, essentially, it's probably between Precious Achiuwa, Markieff Morris, and Dario Saric. I love Markieff Morris. I think he loves Philly. I wouldn't mind him on a minimum deal, but I wouldn't want him to be a starting power forward. I don't think I would want Precious Achiuwa to be a starting power forward either. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say our boy, Dario Saric, returns to Philadelphia. Everything comes full circle. Dario finally comes over and wins a championship as the 76ers starting power forward. I still really, really like Dario Saric's game. Obviously, he's not as high level as we anticipated he would be when he was coming over from Turkey? I forget. But, I like Dario Saric there. So there's the available, free agent situation. That's what if the Sixers don't swing a trade. And again, with all of these draft picks available still, and I think you're going to see a Sixers trade for a starting power forward before you see one of these free agents signing. So let's look at this. Okay, 6 options the Sixers can look at for their current power forward opening. Number one is Caleb Martin. Well, no, he's on the headline. Number one, actually, in this article written by, I want to make sure I shout out Kai Carlin. Shout out to Kai Carlin. Number one is Dorian Finney-Smith. And, of course, I've been saying this basically every day. I think if the Sixers can swing some kind of trade for Dorian Finney-Smith and figure out a way for it to work under the salary cap so they don't get hard capped or the second apron imposes penalties on a team like your first round draft picks are frozen and things like that. So they want to stay away from the second apron. Dorian Finney-Smith is an absolute perfect fit here. And if the Sixers if Daryl Morey can swing some type of trade and salary cap wizardry for Dorian Finney-Smith, I will call the 76ers clear-cut championship contenders. And if you don't know how or why I think Dorian Finney-Smith fits so perfectly, I've explained it a billion times. I'm not going to keep saying it. Hayward Highsmith is out there. I don't know if he's a power forward, but Highsmith, the former Philadelphia 76er, of course, because everybody started with the Sixers and left to do other things. He shot 39% from deep and averaged 6.1 points and 3.2 rebounds. I don't like this. The Sixers need a power forward who can rebound. I understand stretching the floor for Joel, but I think I would call Hayward Highsmith more of a small forward. I think I would call Caleb Martin more of a small forward too. I think they need a big, strong, rebounding power forward. Speaking of big and strong, I didn't even think about Saddiq Bey, man. I like Saddiq Bey a lot, and I don't even have to read this paragraph to know that I would love Saddiq Bey on this team in the power forward slot. He averaged 13.7 points and 6.5 rebounds for the Atlanta Hawks. He had a down season shooting the ball just 31% from deep, which is well below his career three-point shooting percentage of 35.2. So one has to figure that he will bounce back in the coming season. He does a lot of the dirty work on the defensive end and on the glass, and he's an aggressive offensive player. Yes. Saddiq Bey is very aggressive. Has that nitty-gritty fighter type of mentality. I would love Saddiq Bey on this team. So, I don't know what the Hawks are doing. I don't know how it works out, but Dorian Finney-Smith or Saddiq Bey, I think right here, as far as the Sixers swinging a trade for a starting power forward, those two guys I think are at the top of my list. Simone Fontecchio, I've heard the name. I think I remember watching him when we played the Pistons a couple times, but I couldn't tell you too much about him. He took 5.1 3-pointers per game and shot 40%. He averaged 15.4 points per game on the Detroit Pistons. He's a reliable three-point option. I'm all for stretch 4 3-point shooters, but I need these type of dudes. Aggressive, physical guys that are going to fight for rebounds. If you really want to talk about why the Sixers lost that Knicks series, we could talk about Tobias Harris. We could talk about anybody. Rebounding. Rebounding is why they lost. They got absolutely smoked on the boards by a guy named Isaiah Hartenstein, So my two picks, I think, remain the same. Caleb Martin, I still think this isn't a power forward. He averaged 10 points and 4 rebounds for Miami, shot 35% from deep. He's a good defender. He's taken his game to another level in the playoffs. He averaged 13 points, shot 42% from deep in the playoffs. He is a 3-and-D wing, but I think he's 6'5". I need a big, bruising, rebounding power forward, and I need it to be either Saddiq Bey or Dorian Finney-Smith. There's my take on that. Give me your thoughts, man, on the Sixers roster right now. KJ Martin, look, if the Sixers completely run out of options as far as swinging trades and bringing in somebody of a more high-level starting caliber, I don't hate KJ Martin. I actually loved what KJ Martin turned into towards the end of the season under Nick Nurse. Just uber athletic guy who came around towards the end of the season defensively, man. He really became one of the 76ers' best on-ball defenders. And a lot of times when the 76ers were struggling with a zone against Miami, KJ Martin was the guy that Nick Nurse was using to break the zone in that middle free throw line area. KJ Martin, it's not a terrible option at the end of the day if you don't swing anything else in some kind of a trade. I really, and I think it's mostly because of what I've seen Nick Nurse get out of KJ Martin in his limited minutes. And then, of course, the playoffs happened and he didn't play him at all, and he didn't play Ricky Council at all, and that pisses me off. But I don't hate KJ Martin as a last resort signing in on this list. Yeah, my top two options at the power forward slot are Dorian Finney-Smith and Sadiq Bey, if they could make that happen somehow, some way. But as of right now, I am not feeling great about the 76ers overall roster and how they're going to fill it out, because they don't really have very much money to spend. So it's going to take some trades. It's going to take some draft pick maneuverability. It's going to take some salary cap wizardry, and we'll see what Daryl Morey does. But, man, give me your thoughts on everything in the comments. Thanks for continuing to rock with me. I love you guys. Run it back, Nation. Sixers Nation. You guys are the best. I'm out of here.